tonight.
This is progress, historic progress. Progress that's pulling our economy out of the worst crisis it's been in 100 years.
The latest on the job market across America. And election 2022.
People are beginning to mobilize.
How Republicans hope to gain ground in the midterm elections. Plus, we head to the border to hear firsthand how the migrant surge is affecting some Texas residents. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. A slight improvement in employment in America. Good evening and welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Tara Mergener. The U.S. added 559,000 jobs in May. That is according to the new Labor Department numbers out just today. The number is an improvement over April's lower than expected growth, but some economic experts say they had hoped for more gains. Today, President Biden said the May jobs report shows an improving economy.
No other major economy in the world is growing as fast as ours. No other major economy is gaining jobs as quickly as ours.
Joining us now, Mark Hamrick, Washington Bureau Chief and Senior Economic Analyst at Bankrate. Mark, of course, good news, the U.S. added jobs, but today you wrote there are signs of strain seen beneath the headlines of the report. So what kind of strains are you seeing?
Sure. Well, we think about the fact that, for example, we're still talking about more than 9 million Americans who are officially unemployed. About half that number who are working part-time would like to have full-time work, and millions of others who are out of the labor force but would like to have a job. So, putting the economy back together again is complicated work. But we can remember a year ago, the unemployment rate went as high as an official 14.7%. Obviously, we've fallen quite a bit from there, but there's still more work to do.
So for 5 straight weeks now, unemployment applications have dropped, now at their lowest level since the pandemic started. The number showing about 385,000 applications. So what is the significance being below 400,000 unemployment applications in a situation like this?
Well, I like to say that it's almost psychologically significant because having watched this kind of stuff for a long time, the 400,000 level has often been viewed as psychologically significant, meaning that we're kind of putting the worst behind us. And we've seen, for example, measures of consumer confidence really rising to pretty strong levels now. So obviously, if one is still unemployed or underemployed, one is hoping for better times ahead. And to the extent that the economy is healing, I look at the fact that with the number of jobs that were added, we still have to go at that same rate for about 20 months to go back to where we were before, and also to make up for the typical job gains that we would have had time over the past 14 months or so.
So on the one hand, we hear about jobs being added, unemployment dropping, but on the other, reports of companies not being able to find people to fill the roles. Restaurants, included, not being able to find servers, hotels not being able to find maids. Just a couple examples. I hear them all around D.C. too. What do you make of this?
Well, there are a number of reasons, and that certainly is, I would say, high on the minds of those who are looking at the strains in the economy right now, to the extent that we had a Beige Book survey from the Federal Reserve earlier in the week, the regional roundup of economic conditions, and the inability to find qualified workers for open positions was a common theme, as has been rising prices. So if you want to have a ledger with a list of the things that you're concerned about or worried about, you would put rising prices, inflation, as well as the inability of firms to get the workers they want to essentially sell the goods and services that they want to sell. So this is limiting the economic recovery to a degree.
Yeah, certainly a lot of things to watch here as the months go on about the economy. Mark, thanks so much. Always good to get your insights.
Thank you.
All right, right now, Democrats have control of Congress and the White House, of course, but Republicans see a chance to gain some political ground in 2022 and restore some balance in Washington. Jennifer Wishon has more on what we might expect in the midterm elections.
Conventional wisdom tells us the party not in the White House, in this case Republican, has a major advantage in the midterms. Add that to lingering frustrations over the 2020 election with an extreme liberal agenda coming out of Washington. And many analysts say Republicans are heading into November 2022 with a steady wind at their backs. In the evenly divided Senate, 20 Republican and 14 Democratic seats are up for grabs. Every House seat is on the ballot, where Democrats hold a slim 8-seat advantage. 5 seats are currently vacant. Historically, the party in the White House loses an average of 26 seats in the midterm, and the last 2 Democratic presidents took an even greater midterm shellacking. In 1994, President Clinton lost 52 House and 8 Senate seats to Newt Gingrich's contract with America. And in 2010, fueled by the Tea Party movement, Republicans scored 63 House and 6 Senate seats during President Obama's first midterm. CBN News senior editor John Waggy says President Biden could face a similar, if not worse, fate.
You've got the cancel culture. You've got woke corporations telling people how to think. You've got big tech and media outlets basically telling people, if you believe this about COVID or if you believe this about the election, we're just going to shut you down. And you combine all that, and it's producing a pretty heady brew of anger right now.
This as Democrats push an agenda aimed at transforming America. What's at stake? One bill critics say would ensure a Democratic majority. H.R. 1, or the For the People Act, is a sweeping federal elections bill that would steamroll state laws, mandate early voting, and outlaw voter ID requirements.
This legislation is there to protect the right to vote, to remove obstacles of participation.
This bill makes elections less trustworthy, not more. And trust is everything.
Another measure that's passed the House but doesn't have the votes to pass a Senate filibuster is a push to make the District of Columbia a state. That would add 2 likely Democratic senators, creating a steep bar for Republicans to overcome. There's also the Equality Act, a bill that expands LGBT rights at the expense of biblical beliefs. Waggy says this all plays into predictions the electorate is ready to apply the brakes.
People are beginning to mobilize, and they're starting to say, if we want to keep the republic the way we understand the republic, we're going to have to get involved ourselves.
Another advantage for Team GOP, redistricting, or the redrawing of congressional lines after the census. Since Republicans control more state houses across the country, they'll be in charge of crafting more districts and can draw lines favorable to their party. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
All right, joining us now, CBN News chief political analyst David Brody and Julia Manchester, political reporter at The Hill. Julia, the midterms may seem far away, but they will be here before we know it. What do Republican needs to do to gain ground?
Well, it'll be interesting to see what Republicans do. But before we look at the midterms, I think we should look not far from D.C. and Virginia, where you are probably going to see a very, very tight gubernatorial election in a swing state that has trended much more blue in recent years. You have the Republican nominee Glenn Youngkin, who's probably going to go up against Terry McAuliffe, the former governor, if he wins the nomination for the Democratic Party. And I think you are going to hear a lot of Republicans very much pushing this law and order message, a message that you have heard in 2020, and Republicans were successful very much in tying a lot of Democrats to the defund the police movement, as well as tying them to this idea that there are certain members of the Democratic Party that are pushing socialism. So I think you are going to see Republicans continue to push that. But for Democrats, I think a lot of them, in talking to strategists in Virginia and Democrats in Virginia, I've heard from them that they are very much going to work on tying Glenn Youngkin, the Republican nominee, to Donald Trump and really push economic gains made under the Biden administration.
David, your thoughts on this?
Well, a couple of things. I think Julie is really onto something. She mentions Virginia, and as it relates to the midterm elections, let's remember the suburbs are going to be crucial. And once again, if you drill down in the suburbs, you've got the CRT, right, the critical race theory that I'm not quite sure that's going to play well for Democrats in the suburbs. Also, this idea of female athletes and the transgender issue. How are suburban moms going to react to that? So I think those are key places to watch. But look, this is Republicans for the taking here. they have a real great shot at taking the House back. As a matter of fact, at this point, if they didn't take back the House, it would be a severe disappointment. Kevin McCarthy just telling me just a few weeks ago that on a scale of 1 to 10, he calls it a 10 that they're going to take back the House. So that's how confident Republicans feel right now.
It's hard to look at future elections without mentioning Donald Trump. David, the former president is getting back into rally mode later this month. This weekend, speaking at a North Carolina GOP event, is he signaling we're going to see a Trump 2024 campaign?
Well, I don't know quite yet whether or not this is going to be a signal. This is Donald Trump wanting to get back into the action. He wants a piece of the action, and my sense of it this weekend, here's a shocker. Donald Trump's going to talk about, wait for it, Donald Trump this Saturday. So I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're also going to see Anthony Fauci take center stage, not on the stage, but in Donald Trump's mind, because Donald Trump's going to talk a lot about Fauci. But beyond all of that, he's going to point out everything that has gone wrong with the Biden administration, and what he will say, everything that he's been proven right about when it comes to the Biden administration. So you might want to call it a precursor to 2024, but we're not there quite yet.
Well, Julia, last night, former Vice President Mike Pence, in a way, distanced himself from President Trump when it comes to what took place at the Capitol Hill on January 6th, telling a group of New Hampshire Republicans he doesn't know if he and Trump will ever see eye to eye on that day. What do you make of those comments?
No, I think it's interesting that Mike Pence made those comments in New Hampshire. I don't know if they would have played as well in more red, more pro-Trump states like Florida or Texas, for example. New Hampshire is a state where there's a lot of independents. It's an open primary. Some of their Republicans may not lean as pro-Trump as Republicans in other states. So he was very careful to walk a fine line last night. But I think it's obvious that there is tension between the vice president and the president, and the former president and former vice president, I should say, and their recollections and their views of January 6th. And I think it was interesting that he brought it up because January 6th and the January 6th Commission is something that Democrats have really been using to drill into Republicans ahead of the 2022 midterms. You're actually already seeing Democrats starting to fundraise against Republicans who voted against the creation of the commission. So I think this is very much Mike Pence, who is at the center of that day in many ways, very much trying to lay the groundwork for when he's going to have to answer or be confronted with questions about that, because January 6th will be a major topic from journalists, maybe even some voters in 2022.
No doubt about it. David, Julia, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right, Texas ranchers reaching a tipping point. Why the situation at the border is causing some to speak out when Faith Nation returns.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. cbn.com.
The border is broken. Those are the words of some South Texas landowners who say President Biden's immigration policies are causing chaos, not just at the border, but many miles from it. On a recent trip to the Rio Grande Valley, we met up with Dottie, among those urging the administration to change course and praying she will be able to stay in her home.
Basically, guys, our border is under attack.
The job that the Border Patrol does is a hard job, a very, very difficult job, a very, very dangerous job.
An immigration system at the breaking point.
It's taken a lot out of everyone.
Migrants flooding the southern border.
President Biden's administration itself is exposing Texans and Americans to COVID-19 through illegal immigrants.
There's a great sense of unease.
Not all survive the journey.
They run out of water, they run out of food, the coyote pushes them too fast.
As the president sends mixed messages.
Don't come, and we're in the process of getting set up.
And many Americans fear for the country's future.
Little by little, our original Constitution is being ripped apart.
Holy!
That field is in Mexico, so the Rio Grande River is just right here behind us.
A giant metal fence slices through the South Texas plantation that's been in Dottie's family for generations. The situation has changed over the years.
It's whopping. It's a humongous change. There was no fence, no wall.
Dottie, who asked us not to use her last name, has a bird's eye view of Mexico and a deep appreciation for those who keep watch.
What they go through to protect us and our properties. Without our Border Patrol, we don't have a country.
Growing up, Dottie watched as laborers from Mexico went back and forth freely between countries.
The people who came over then were super nice people. They'd come over, they would work for the day and go on back over. As years went by, then the government decided, oh, let's change things.
And through the years, Dottie says, the people have changed too. Routinely damaging private property or hiding there from the law. And another change, not everyone is from Mexico anymore.
You have all these people coming from different countries here, and now just hordes of them that come through at a time. So how do you tell the good from the bad?
Behind the tree line is the Rio Grande River. In the short time we've been here, a couple of people appeared off in the distance, continued walking across the field, then quickly disappeared. In addition to this being farmland, it's an area often used by scouts to make sure Border Patrol is not around. Since President Biden took office, illegal entries in the U.S. hitting new highs, on track to reach 1 million or more this year.
It is the direct consequence of policy decisions by the Biden administration to stop building the wall, to return to catch and release, and to end the stay in Mexico policy.
Amazing what these smugglers, drivers with these trucks can go through.
Desperate to be heard, South Texas ranchers use social media to blame Biden for the flood of Central Americans and others sneaking across the border.
They ought to send them all up there to the White House, put them in there with him. He can put his mask on.
And onto their land.
Who in their right mind thinks this is okay? Who in their right mind, when they say amnesty, give them a free pass to come in, they promise them health care, they promise all sorts of stuff. These are not the people we want coming into this country.
Across thousands of miles of ranch lands, migrants running from the law have long posed a challenge, even many miles from the border.
Mother, baby, and father.
And as numbers swell at the border, more migrants are trekking on foot or packed into vehicles heading north through these parts. Ranchers say they've never seen so many people.
This country's really good. Humane, Mr. Biden.
Bringing damage.
We come upon their camps where we find a bunch of backpacks, trash,
danger,
and numerous ranchers that have been assaulted while they were opening a gate.
And heartbreak.
I got you. Okay.
This is where these children were brought across and dumped here alone. This is where they slept last night. Look at this. Look at this.
There's also concern about Biden's plan to ground the Border Patrol's eyes in the sky that have dotted the South Texas skyline for years.
It's like we've been abandoned and left alone. And all the technologies that were in place, the aerostats that were on private property north of the Border Patrol checkpoints, those have all been removed. There's no valid technology being used today to help landowners in the checkpoint areas north of the border.
Agents see illegal crossers and their smugglers also taking advantage of gaps left in the border wall since Biden ended construction the day he took office. All of the equipment is stopped, the crews are all gone, and there are still miles and miles of gaps up and down the borderline. Dottie, who once opposed any wall on her property, now fears it will be torn down.
Those people in D.C. want to say, get rid of this wall. Get rid of it. Open up the borders. Let them come across. I won't be able to live here if they do that.
She's not the only one. Landowners throughout South Texas report an alarming increase in home and shed break-ins, expensive fences and irrigation lines cut, drugs left behind, and high-speed chases tearing through their yards. And for each arrest, overworked border agents and other law enforcement make, many more are getting away.
We definitely need to regroup, you know, and have a strong immigration reform. Without that, it's going to continue.
Are we moving in the wrong direction, do you think?
As of right now, as we sit here, yes, it's definitely the wrong direction.
It's not just the good people that are doing this, it is the increase in the bad people who are taking over.
And like a growing number of South Texans now, Dottie says she hopes she is not the next to leave. Faith Nation will be right back after this.
Too often we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com to get your copy today.
President Trump will not be on Facebook for the next 2 years. The social media giant announced that time frame today after an oversight board found his accounts responsible for encouraging the deadly violence seen at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, saying, quote, given the gravity of the circumstances that led to Mr. Trump's suspension, we believe his actions constituted a severe violation of our rules, which merit the highest penalty available for new enforcement protocols. After the 2 years is up, Facebook says it will look to experts to assess whether the risk to the public safety has receded before making a decision on whether to restore the former president's accounts. Trump today calling the suspension censoring and silencing, saying it was an insult to the 75 million voters that backed him in the 2020 election. Well, coming up, a graduation gift like none other. See what this collegiate class got on their feet for next.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Wednesday at 3 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Well, finally tonight, the Wilberforce University graduating classes of 2020 and 2021 had extra reason to celebrate during this year's commencement. The school's president announcing that the school had forgiven all debt for the 166 ecstatic new alumni.
Your accounts have been cleared.
Wow. The oldest private historically black college said the zero balance came from scholarships funded by secret donations. The school's president attributed the gift to the students' hard work under difficult pandemic circumstances and said he hoped it would provide them with a fresh start. Amazing. May all graduates be that lucky. That will do it for Faith Nation. Have a great weekend.